Hey guys, Chad Hoover, Kayak Bassin TV. So last week I released a video that basically said I'm getting back to the basics. And so for the last week I've been putting together a shot list. I've been putting together some subjects that I want to cover. And I've followed all of the comments on the videos and grabbed those comments and put them into my shot list in order to make sure that I covered everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through real quick the topics that I'm going to cover over the next 4 to 6 months, and the things that I'm going to do to answer the questions and to provide better content, for getting better information out there for Kayak Bassin. And so I'm going to run through this list, but what I'd like for you to do is, if you suggested that I cover a topic and you don't see me put it on there, I'm going to put it in the description box below. But if you don't see a topic that you asked about, please comment. I'll add it to the list, and we'll make sure we get it covered. So I'm just going to do kind of a 50,000 foot view of some of the stuff that I'm going to do. And I'm really excited about some of the content that we're going to be providing over the next year, but especially some of the stuff that I'm going to knock out during the winter time. And I think that you guys will love it. And so, like I said, make sure you comment, make sure you ask questions. And, if there's something that you think I'm being too broad on, put it in the comments below, and I will get more specific and get more detailed based on that. So first and foremost, I'm obviously a kayak fishing guy. So one of the things that I'm going to cover is kayak fishing accessories and gear selection. That's going to be everything from selecting a rod holder to the rod holder options, why you should choose a particular rod holder, selecting electronics mounts, the type of electronics that you should use, and the different options available to you for incorporating them into your kayak setup. Mounting solutions. I'm going to talk about fixed bases versus, floating bases versus tracks versus all the other, options that are available to you. We're going to get into some selecting of rigging components, from anchor trolleys to customizing your hatches to custom paint jobs to decaling your boat up, and all the different things you can do to make your boat your boat. From there, I'm going to really get into an in-depth series on finding fish. We're going to talk about narrowing down prime areas, dissecting a lake. We're going to talk about, finding isolated water, both finding isolated water that's connected or contiguous with, bigger bodies of water, or things that are isolated like oxbows and borrow pits and things like that, that really can be hidden gems that hold true potential for trophy bass. Then we're going to get into deep water. I'm going to really delve into deep water fishing and finding, structure and cover in deeper water, and finding fish where other people have a hard time. Everybody can beat the banks, everybody can find a waypoint to a brush pile, but I'm going to really get into the concept of getting off the bank and getting offshore, using your electronics, using topographical maps, using a jig to fill the bottom, using all of those things to really take your deep water fishing, which is very important for winter fishing, and it's also very important for the dog days of summer, to be successful. Then we're going to get into rivers. I'm going to really break down river fishing. I haven't kind of put myself out there as a river fishing pro, and I still don't consider myself one, but I have learned a lot over the years fishing with some really good river fishing guides. I'm going to bring them in where necessary, and then I'm just going to talk about some of the lessons that I've learned and give you options and specific things that you should look for when you're out in the water. We're going to talk about reading the water. We're going to talk about going with the flow. We're going to talk about going against the flow. We're going to talk about, standing pools and looking for stagnant foam and how to read an eddy. And then we're going to talk about some river fishing skills, things that Jeff Little, through his, bluegrass kayak fishing and tightline junkie journal, has really gone deep into. And I'm just going to kind of cover some of that stuff and then recommend some great videos and things for you guys to also go watch to get more information on that. As you watch my videos, one of the things you're going to learn is I'm going to help you find other great YouTubers and guys that teach. So always look in the description box, because if there's a video that does a better job or goes more in depth, I'm always going to include that in the description. The next thing we're going to get into is we're going to get into depth finders. I'm going to go top to bottom, pun intended, on using depth finders, from mounting them to reading them to using them for virtual scouting, using the functions on them, how they work, how to get more out of your electronics. most pro fishermen, most TV show hosts, myself included, have not done a good job of getting into the real in-depth, kayak fishing specific or boat fishing specific, doesn't matter, but none of us have really done a good job of showing how to use electronics to be more successful. I'm going to talk about upgrading your software selection and why those things are beneficial and what value you can get from that, and how to use that to sit on the couch and nail down some waypoints so that there's things that you can have pre-planned to check out before you head out to the water. I'm going to talk about how to name your waypoints where they actually mean something to you, how to add notes to them, things like that. And then I'm going to get into sonar, DSI, and structure scan, and really talk about the difference between your standard transducers, your DSI style transducers, and then your dedicated structure scan systems. And then for casting techniques, which is one of the things that just kept coming up, and it's a topic that really we don't talk about. We just assume as a bass fisherman that you either know how to cast or you're going to get out there and learn it. But I'm going to get into some specifics for flipping and pitching, both standing and sitting. I'm going to get into skipping baits, using spinning tackle and using casting gear. I'm going to get into some pendulum casts and some things that may not be part of your arsenal. Talk about when to use them, why to use them, and where to use them. And so sidearm casting, we're going to talk about the physiology, the physics behind the cast, and what makes a rod the right selection, both for casting the lure to get it where you want it to go, to presenting it properly, and to keeping the fish hooked up after you have done your job and got the fish on the end of your line. We're going to then talk about reel selection and setup, because that's important. Well, we're going to go from selecting a reel and why you should select it, from a bait caster to spinning, to gear ratios, to the types of handles, to using your drag properly, to techniques for how you should reel and when you should reel and when you shouldn't reel, believe it or not. And then I'm going to get into very specific ways to set your reel up to reduce backlashes and tangles and line twist, both for spinning reels and casting reels. And then we're going to get into line selection. So if you notice, I've gone from rod selection and usage to reel selection to line selection, and there's a reason for that, because it's all a system. We're going to take that rod, reel, lure, and line selection, and we're going to put that together, and we're going to do some lure comparisons. I'm going to do soft jerk baits versus hard jerk baits. I'm going to do creature baits versus worms. I'm going to do jigs versus Texas rig plastics. I'm going to do buzz baits versus topwater plugs, and when you should choose one over the other. And when you should use them as a 1-2 punch. I'm going to do rigging plastics. I'm going to talk about the different options available. Selecting the right hook. Not just the right hook for rigging a soft plastic, but the right hook for a crankbait, the right hook for a blade bait, the right hook for drop shotting, the right hook for any specific type of presentation where the hook that you choose or the choice you make is critical to both a hookup and keeping the fish on the line to be more successful. From there, I'm going to get into selecting the actual right line, the right type of line, the right brand in some cases, more importantly, the right weight and diameter, so that you get the presentation that you're looking for, and not just basing it on how heavy it needs to be to get the fish to the boat. And then we're going to get into some stuff like comparing spinner baits to chatterbaits to lipless cranks, chatterbaits to jigs, hybrid lures, and some modifications and things that I really am a big fan of doing, mostly because I'm a tinkerer, but also because I really believe it adds value to the presentation. Using certain rigs that are already popular, but showing you little twists on them, like the Ned rig or wacky rigging, or using a shaky head, flick shaking, some of those things. And then we're going to get into some miscellaneous stuff. Some of our miscellaneous topics are going to include multi-day camping trips. They're going to include rigging for camping and the essential equipment that you need for camping. We're going to talk about transporting your kayak and what some of the options out there are. We're going to talk about storing your kayak and some of those options, and suggestions on preserving the hull integrity, and also, keeping your boat in good condition for, the upcoming season if you're one of those people that puts it away. And then ditching your kayak, and not ditching your kayak as in leaving it at home or putting it away, but really getting into some ditches and fishing some places you would just never imagine is going to hold not just good bass populations, but true trophy bass potential. So those are the kind of 50,000 foot view of the topics that we're working on. I'm putting all of the topics that I'm going to cover in the description of this video. That way you can refer back through it, because I know I kind of blew through them real fast. But do me a favor, comment below. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know if there's a specific topic that you want me to get very in depth on. If there's a particular thing that you have a question about. So comment below. Please, please, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that we can get more information out there. And again, give me feedback when you see me do a video. If you don't like the video that I did, put that in the comment section of any of them. Ask more specific questions, and I can go back out and do a more in-depth analysis of the particular subject. So I'm Chad Hoover, Kayak Bassin TV. Make sure you guys subscribe, and I'm looking forward to getting a whole bunch of these videos out there, and I hope you enjoy them.